What's happening, everybody? Happy Tuesday here in this awful and hot July. Welcome to Pete and Joe, presented by the OBR Streaming Network and OBR.com. My name is Joe Mazzulo. This is my man, Pete Smith. What's going on, Pete? We're in the stretch run, homie. We got two more shows of absolutely nothing to talk about, baby. How you doing? How you feeling?
Almost there. Almost to a point where we get rookies hanging out and then eventually real training camp.
Oh, we're getting there.
I'll say this. We're not 15 days away from making it through without a single arrest or anything else. Like, let's keep that streak going.
First of all, what is it? Why would you even bring that up, Pete? We were there. We got 8 more days, dude, and you're gonna pull this off? This is game one, Cavs Knicks all over again, man. Come on.
Let's go. By the way, is LeBron going to join the Cavs simply because of Malik Thomas tearing up Summer League? Is that going to be the thing that pushes this over? He's like, listen, I was all in. I going to Golden State. But have you seen this dude in Summer League?
Yeah. First of all, back-to-back 30-point games? And, dude, he can splash it from anywhere on the court, Pete. He just heaves it. And that's what I like about the Summer League. There's no red lights in the Summer League, dude.
It's sort of funny because he's got this very awkward-looking jump shot, and then it's a very soft touch on the rim. He just keeps going in.
Well, and that's, it's certainly not trying to compare these two, but it's almost the way he just, lets it go is, very Steph Curry-esque. Like, his form is I'm saying, his form is a little different on each shot. He doesn't need his feet under him. He doesn't need to be squared to the basket. He's got a quick trigger, man.
That should be the sales pitch. You don't need to go to Golden State to play with Steph Curry. He's right here.
Yeah, we got baby Steph. We got the young version right here. Yeah. So, Pete, we've been over the Browns roster ad nauseum and everything like that. But what I would like to do tonight, that I think would be a nice little, starter kit for training camp on the way, and then more importantly, the season on the way. I want to go through the schedule. I want to go through the schedule game by game. I want to look at who the opponent is, how they match up with us in terms of where are they at in terms of their contending window. Are they a younger roster, older roster? Do we win any of those position group battles? Stuff like that. I mean, just because we know that the Browns aren't exactly highly thought of right now. We have no, legitimate quarterback on the roster to give anybody any sort of thoughts about us making a playoff run, right? But we have a talented roster that I think people tend to overlook, and I want to see how it kind of matches up with some of these bigger boys in the NFL. So let's kick it off, man. Week 1, Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, Jacksonville's got the quarterback thing figured out a little bit more so than we do, but I don't think either one of us are big fans of Trevor Lawrence.
Well, especially not after last year. I hate him but I just don't trust him. Like, I think you're sort of on that line where you sort of, you'd sort of describe as sort of the 16 to 18 sort of quarterback line, or maybe and maybe it fluctuates to where he can be like 13, maybe 12 in the best year. Yeah. But I never know what I'm going to get from him year to year, unless the Browns own the right to the draft pick, in which case then he will pull.
He's going to lock it in.
Yeah, then he's locked in and ready to go. But it's just so weird because, Brian Thomas Jr. is a phenomenal talent, and he couldn't make it work with him, but he's been really good with Jacoby Myers. He's great with the Parker Washington. They've got really good. So if they can put this all together, they're really good. The thing that sort of strikes me as odd, I guess, is Jacksonville is pretty well sort of in a position to compete and potentially win the AFC South again. But I feel like they threw away this offseason. I just feel like they did not progress. And obviously, a lot of that comes down to everybody, piled onto their draft. How does it actually work? Is it maybe it works better than we think, or it's really, really as bad as we all thought it was, and that creates a problem. So if you combine sort of the two things that they've done the past 2 years, which is the Travis Hunter trade, which I expect he will be a good player. I just don't know if he'll be able to provide the trade. And then you follow that up with this very unorthodox, out of step draft. And if those don't work, yes, they will still have a very good talent base. But are they going to quickly find out that they've created this massive hole? Are they essentially going to recreate the Deshaun Watson trade in terms of sort of a draft capital sense, where they have just thrown away assets that are going to catch up to? Obviously, not as many high-priced assets, but like,
Yeah.
they will add up after a while.
Well, what you missed there, Pete, is in between all that, they did the Greg Newsome and Tyson Campbell trade, which was another poor deal. So Gladstone's, he's had a rough couple years, but they didn't reflect that on the field. I feel like the team played, they played way better than we expected them to. They played better than probably the Browns expected them to. The Browns probably made that pick and felt very, very good about where that pick was going to end up. But look, I like the coach surprised me a year ago. He really did. I didn't have very high hopes for him. He hit the ground running. He had the team playing hard, playing fast, playing physical. They had a lot of luck on their side. But still, this is a good team that, was poised to make another big step this offseason. But Pete, I'm with you. Very little impact in this draft. I feel like the entire draft was treated as though it was day 3 and they're looking for role players here and there. It's a really confusing draft.
So the question is this going to be their 2023 season that the Browns had, where they got to the playoffs? It was a hell of a ride. And then all of a sudden 2024 goes, and you're like, we should be able to keep this thing going. And then just it completely falls apart. And maybe that's next year for them. Maybe they can sustain in 2027. But I unless they can sort of fill some of these gaps that they've sort of created. Or again, some of this could come down. The draft class is really good and way better than we think, but that's usually not a very good bet. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, Pete, when it comes to this matchup, where do you think the Browns' advantages are versus the disadvantages? The obvious one's going to be Trevor Lawrence, right? But again, it's more obvious on paper because, again, you and I aren't necessarily fans of Trevor and what he brings to the table. He doesn't exactly strike fear into the hearts of the Browns defense.
Yeah, I think one of the questions I have is how are their corner, again, this is asking a lot, how are their corners going to match up against the Browns receivers?
Yeah.
And the defensive line is going to be a problem for the Browns, but I not sure how well their interior is really set up. Don't get me wrong. Armstead is a good player. I think overall they are well suited, but like if the Browns are effective running the ball, can they take advantage of that? Is that something that they can sort of make it work? Now we've got to find out if the Browns can block. Obviously, that's going to be a huge element to that. But Jacksonville
it's a pretty mean front, Pete. It's a really tough front.
Yeah,
first matchup for the first game.
If the Browns find themselves consistently in like 3rd and long, it's going to be a very long day.
Yeah,
and get ugly. If they can somehow keep it on schedule, things get interesting. So I'll be curious to see if they can find a way to take advantage of some of these matchups, because otherwise they are really solid for the most part across the board. They don't have guys that are necessarily going to blow you away at linebacker. But here's the thing: what they do have at linebacker, they have several speedy guys. So if you're trying to say we want to, get the ball in the back or whatever, you may have more trouble with that because they've got guys that could theoretically cover those guys out of the backfield.
All right. Now, I guess that's pretty much going to be the main issue with this game is whether the line can keep the quarterback clean enough for long enough that we can generate some offense and stuff. Do you think the defense is going to struggle at all with Jacksonville? Look, they lost Travis Etienne, but Bayshal Tootin from Virginia Tech is going into his 2nd year. He's a little spark plug, man. He's solidly built. He's got some home run speed. I think he's in line for a jump this year.
Well, I based just looking at it, I feel like the Browns should be solid against the run. I'll be curious to see how it looks against the pass. You're going to be throwing a lot of new things out there. Emmanuel McNeil Warren's first game. Obviously, you have solid outside corners, But the difference is going to be you are now putting this new sort of look defense on display. And, yes, you're going to be okay dealing with Brian Thomas Jr. and Jacoby Myers theoretically on the other side. Who's dealing with Parker Washington? What does that look like? Because he's a problem. And then Brenton Strange, how does he?
Good kid.
Yeah, I mean, like those two guys theoretically attack areas of the team that are going to give you the most problem. Now, traditionally, the Browns have just said, "Great, Delpit, erase that man," and he's been able to do it. But Parker Washington it plays the position that has been a nightmare for the Browns in terms of everything else is pretty covered. So they're going to find him ways to get the ball, and he was their number one receiver last year anyway. So it's the same problem, and the Browns did an okay job, but it presents a similar dynamic as the Detroit Lions did, where the Browns played them pretty well, but ultimately Amon-Ra St. Brown did enough and scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that was all it took. So Parker Washington could be a real problem if they don't have an answer for that.
All right. Well, let's shuffle over to week 2. We're staying in state. We're staying in Florida. We're flipping over to the West Coast, over to Tampa. This is, Pete, to me, this is a winnable game. I think this is it's early enough in the season. I don't think the Buccaneers have a good defense. I think they added some nice players in the draft that's going to elevate that defense, but I don't think it's going to be that early in the season. So I look at this game as a winnable game. I mean, they're both winnable. Jacksonville's certainly not an insurmountable opponent, but I look at Tampa. This is a winnable game. You're looking at life without Mike Evans for the first time since 2014. You're looking at Baker Mayfield fighting for his contractual life. You've got a offensive line that's coming off a injury-riddled year. I mean, yeah, they've got Ibuka. They still have Cade Otton. Chris Godwin's coming back. That's a winnable game.
I think it's a nightmare. The problem is, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
But the roster is, surprisingly solid. They don't have, an obvious weakness. Now, the big thing they need to find out is, can they rush the passer? Because they're going to beat Avea and Ashawn Robinson in the middle of that front. So they're going to be stout on that part if the Browns can't move. Now they can stretch and do some other things. So the question for them is going to be, can Kalijah Kancey, can Ruben Bain, can Yaya Diaby, can those guys create pressure? Because there's a world where they could theoretically get picked apart. But the problem for the Browns is then they've got Antoine Winfield, Tyke Smith. Those are really good players. They're getting Benjamin Morrison in year 2, fully recovered, seemingly from that injury. This was the bet they made. Now, obviously, this is a big bet. Zion McCollum, maybe the corner position is an area that could be an opportunity. But I think, from what I understand, Benjamin Morrison has looked pretty damn good in camp and stuff. So I don't think that part is necessarily overpowering, but Todd Bowles is not I don't think he's a great head coach, but I do think he's a talented defensive coordinator. And then offensively, sit there and you look at the offense, and Mike Evans is gone. Okay, you still got to deal with Emeka Buka, Jalen McMillan, Chris Godwin. And even if you're not sitting there going, I got to worry, I'm not too worried about that. The kid that seemingly is turning heads that might be able to sort of tip the scale in their favor is the rookie Ted Hurst, who is a kid who can run. And Cade, I don't think too much of their tight ends. Cade Otton is fine. I don't think he's all that impressive. And their offensive line is just enough. Tristan Wirfs is obviously phenomenal and should be here. Luke Gedeke is solid. Graham Barton is a good center. Their guards are fine, and that's all they really need. It's going to give Baker Mayfield time to deliver the ball, and hopefully for his sake, he's healthy. Obviously, he's through a familiar scenario of injuries last year. And then the other big question for them is, what are they going to get from their running backs?
Yeah.
Bucky Irving is terrific when he's healthy, but he's barely been healthy.
He's not a big guy either. Yeah. And
then they brought in Kenny Gainwell, which could be a really nice player for them. And then they've got Sean Tucker. So, I don't love this matchup. I think it's a problem in a lot of ways, and it's just because the Bucs are just super solid.
Yeah.
They're not I don't think let's put it this way. I think they are in the hunt for the NFC South championship.
Oh yeah.
And then they are almost immediately going to get escorted right out of the postseason.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's that division though. Whoever
Yeah.
whoever wins the worst division in the NFC is gonna usually get that boot in the first round. So I'll tell you, I I tend to agree offensively. I feel like defensively, the front does have some dudes, right? And they've got some definite physicality and some definite the whole stout thing up front. I mean,
It's the
Vita
Parker
Vea,
Brailsford nightmare.
it legitimately is the Parker Brailsford. Like that's like the worst case scenario right there. Is a couple of mountains in the middle that your 289-pound center isn't gonna have that much luck removing. Having said that, how do you like say you're Tampa Bay, say you're Jason Light, right? What do you do with Baker Mayfield? Do you pay Baker Mayfield? Like I'm trying to I'm like put yourself in his shoes because I mean who knows what Tampa's gonna do, but like we've been there where we're like we feel like we can do better than Baker, but you realize very quickly that's a pretty high bar to set and try to clear. So if they're going to move on from him, it's got to be calculated, and it's got to have a replacement.
I'm not in any hurry to get a deal done. I think they are saying like they are okay. Yeah. I have no issue with franchise tagging him and trying to find something like zero. And if you can like extend him for 1 year, $50 million or whatever, okay, like fine, because they don't have a guy there. You don't want to let him just walk into the market because then you do risk losing him.
Yeah.
And again, my nightmare is that he ends up in Pittsburgh or something. But like, I have zero qualms about potentially franchising him unless there's some weird middle ground. Like he needs to be the middle ground contract that does not exist at quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, and I feel like that's the problem that we've come into with the way these contracts have surged. Look, the quarterback position for whatever NFL team you're on, like that's a set price if you're an agent or if you're a player. If you think I'm good, this is the going rate for a starting quarterback. So it doesn't matter where you are in that top 32 ranking. If you're a starter and the team wants to keep you, you're going to ask for the moon. You're going to ask for at least 50, and that's what Baker's doing. I mean, I don't blame him for that, but I'm with you. There needs to be a middle ground. We can't all be Chiefs, right? There's got to be a middle ground where not every quarterback contract is a franchise quarterback contract in the 50, 60 million a year range.
Yeah, I mean, and the bottom line is, would it shock me if Baker Mayfield like absolutely crushes it to start at the season again and puts the Bucs at an awkward position? Maybe, but he's got to survive all 17, which he might. And he's like, when he's healthy, he's legitimately a good quarterback. But like, there are enough lingering worries to sort of sit there and go, I don't know. And what are we really getting? And what the other question, obviously, this revolves around Todd Bowles because Jason Light is not going anywhere. Is what is the future with him? And does that change how you're going to approach this with Baker Mayfield? There's a world where you sort of sit there and go, we want to really realistically move on from both guys. And some of that may be determined by the quarterback class and just how many guys are out there. And is there somebody that's going to last to around 20, or maybe the Bucs do the, what the Bills, the Ravens and those teams did and just trade up super far to get a guy. But I don't love the idea of saying, hey, here's another $150 million for 3 years. And I could see them doing it, but I would not feel great about it unless there's some like an out in there that like gets you off the hook after 2 years. That becomes your window to find a new guy.
Let me ask you this, Pete. Do you think that if the NFC South were structured a little bit differently, say the NFC South was the AFC West, and Tampa's sitting there looking at the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos, do you think that they maybe would have moved off Baker and moved off Bowles and tried to do like a little mini reset and retool that way? But the fact that the division is so winnable, and it's like, well, if we just steady the course and make little improvements and get healthy, we're going to be able to win this thing again next year. Do you think that plays any part into it?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Like, and I don't think it's good for them. Like, I think it in some
agree.
In some ways it's living a lot. Now, I can say that from a Browns perspective, and you're sitting there, well, the Browns haven't won a division since 1989. Go screw yourself. But like, yeah, they could win the division, and that's great. But like, then what? And what's it doing now? The other part that could like theoretically put this thing on its head would be if like, let's say Atlanta comes out and is really improved and they run away with the division, or Carolina is a whole lot better than we think and they run away with the division. Like all of a sudden, like it looks like keeping those guys was a really bad idea.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And honestly, both of those teams are trending in the right direction. Even New Orleans is trending in the right direction. And if Tyler Shuck is anything to what Saints fans are hoping he is, that's going to be, that's going to be a whole thing that division has to worry about. I mean,
they still suck.
All right, well, we will get to our Saints eventually here, Pete. Let's talk Panthers right now, right? And let's look. I want to come out and say this right now. I did not think he should have been the number 1 overall pick. I did not think he was going to be worthy of that selection. But tip of the cap to Bryce Young. That's a tough kid. He fought through some pretty rough stuff. He fought through some really poor play, and he's rebounded nicely. He's salvaged his NFL career, and I think he's going to get a decent contract from somebody. I don't know if that's going to be Carolina, though. And I said decent. I don't think he's going to get a big-time contract, Pete, but I think he's going to be in the league a long time, and somebody will pay him to be the starter.
I think it will be Carolina because I don't know where they have anywhere else to go. And that's sort of how these things happen, is you sort of sit there and you go, it's either Bryce Young or voluntarily put yourself in a situation where you're going to get worse unless there's some unexpected opportunity out there. And I just don't think there is one. So unless Bryce Young falls on his face, I think he's going to be retained.
Do you think that David Tepper would allow Canales to move off of him, and Dan Morgan too, I should say? Like, do you think if like push came to shove, because Cleveland sided with Stefanski and then Baker went, right? Like if Canales didn't think Bryce was the guy, do you think that would be a forced marriage, or do you think they would ride with Canales and let him choose his guy?
It would have to be in a scenario where they have a plausible option that's going to be out there that they can go get. So, and I don't know who that is offhand. So that's the biggest thing that works in Bryce Young's favor, is there just may not be an opportunity. Now, if Carolina implodes and they're suddenly at the top of the draft, Bryce Young is gone. Like they're gonna move off him and draft one. So, it's not unlike with Shedeur Sanders, where if you want to keep that job, in my expected scenario where Shedeur Sanders wins the job, you are now playing to make sure that you are in a position to get replaced.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's look at the offense besides Bryce Young that Carolina's bringing in, and I should say, good old friend Kenny Pickett backing him up in Carolina. But let's look at running backs, right? Chuba Hubbard is the mainstay. Yeah. They signed A.J. Dillon in free agency. That's a non-starter. Jonathan Brooks, that's a Texas running back from a few years ago that just can't stay healthy. A talented kid, though, isn't he?
He was. Look, his tape was incredible at Texas, but then you were like doing the thing where he had an ACL, and you're like, well, how's this going to go? And do you want to invest? And Carolina said, yes, we will use a second-round pick on him. And then he got hurt, either the same knee or the other knee, and I think it's the same knee for him. And he's out again. And now they are taking a very concerted approach with his recovery and being very careful with him. They still like him. They still want him to be a thing. But, like, 2 major knee injuries, he's not gotten a regular season carry yet. I just don't know what you can count on, which I'm assuming is why they signed Trevor Etienne and they've got A.J. Dillon and they've still got Chuba Hubbard. Like, they've got a very committee-looking backfield. I'm sure they would love Jonathan Brooks to be that guy. I just think they're smart in this case, smartly hedging their bets on that.
Yeah, agreed. How about wide receivers? We both are fans of Ted McMillan, right? Jalen Coker has emerged as a pretty damn good slot player for them. Tell me about Xavier Legette. He just hasn't been able to really make it work. But I mean, Carolina's had an inconsistent offense through the air. So it's really only been 1 year of Bryce playing at an above average level. It's kind of tough to really beat up receivers. I mean, we see it in Cleveland all the time. You know, people hate on this guy and that guy, but if you're not consistently fed a good football, it's tough to be a consistent receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I also think they have set up a scenario where they are basically counting on one of several guys to beat him out.
Yeah.
They've got John Mechie. They drafted Chris Brazil to be another big vertical receiver, and they've got Jimmy Horn Jr. Now, I don't know that any of those guys is a direct replacement for what they wanted Xavier Legette
to be. Yeah.
But I think Brazil is probably the closest. So, you know, I don't think Legette's got a future there. It would not shock me if they like one of those guys if he's traded somewhere before the season starts. But if not, then you're just sitting there going, well, we've got all these options, and we're hoping one of these guys is going to figure it out, and we get a nice third receiver out of that. But, I mean, and that's the reality is, like, you drafted Legette to be like a big part of your offense, and at best, the best case scenario is he's wide receiver 3.
Yeah. How about Tommy Tremble as the starter? Like, tight end seems like a problem issue for Carolina for me.
Well, they've still got Jatavian Sanders, who I really liked.
The Notre Dame tight end too they drafted.
Yeah, they've got bodies. It's just it's not dissimilar to the Browns situation. They've collected a whole bunch of guys, but none of them is really the difference being Harold Finn is really good and everybody else is a question mark. I think they are largely okay role players. Maybe they're slightly better than what the Browns have as role players, or at least more proven than what the Browns have as role players. But you're not sitting there going, man, we're nervous about how we're going to deal with Tommy Tremble and Jatavian Sanders. I mean, Tommy Tremble for the most part is going to be a Y, an inline player. He's going to be somebody that's trying to help them run the ball. Jatavian Sanders is more of a space player. Obviously they probably like him to be able to become a better blocker, but I don't sit there worrying about what they can do at the tight end position at this point. Now, maybe that's going to change this year. Maybe this is a year where they get better at it, but I'm not. Their receivers are far more worrying to me than the tight end position.
How about the offensive line? They have an interesting situation on the O-line, right? Because they, I want to say Ike Eguanu is their left tackle who's injured right now, right? So they took Monroe Freeling in the first round. They signed Rasheed Walker in free agency. They still have Taylor Moton on the right side. That's a team that fortified offensive tackle. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, but like the impression is that Monroe Freeling is at right tackle for them.
Well, he's the swing at the moment. He's backing up both sides.
Like, so they've got Taylor Moton, who's a good tackle.
He's a good player, yeah.
Rasheed Walker is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly fine for the price they paid for him.
Of course. Well, that's my whole argument, Pete, because you remember talk about him getting 20 annually and being the top tackle on the market and everything like that. To settle for a 1 year, $10 million deal is surprising. It's very surprising.
Wasn't it like $4 million?
No, was it? I thought it was 10. Was it 4?
I think it's like 4. But
worth the Google.
I sit there and look at Rasheed Walker and go, Jared Verse, it's time to go. Like this is a game where you should be going off and take advantage. Now, center, not great. Luke Fortner, meh. Now they did draft Sam Hecht. Maybe he can win that job and steal it and become a better option, but I'm still not loving either of those guys. Damian Lewis is fine. Robert Hunt is very well paid. He should be okay. Do I think this is an overpowering group? By no means do I think that. I think they are largely okay. But this is where a team where I sit there and go, between left tackle and center, I'm hoping the Browns find a way to take advantage of those two positions.
You were correct. It's a $4 million deal. It's worth as much as $10 million. So it's reported as a 1 year, $10 million deal, but like the brass tacks of it, yes. Jonathan Durham. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. But yeah, 1 year, $4 million deal. Can be 10 million. I mean, that's surprising. That's an agent doing some damn good work behind the scenes pre-free agency. I'll tell you that right now. I thought that guy was going to bank.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad, would it have been helpful for the Browns to get him as an insurance policy? Probably. But I'm ultimately okay with not getting him. It's not the end of the world. And again, I hope First just destroys it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at the defense here.
Yep, more nightmare fuel for a Parker Brailsford type situation. Derek Brown. Man.
Derek Brown's one of the more violent players in the NFL. I've seen that dude manhandle some absolute animals. I don't like it. I don't like him, Pete. I don't think he should play week 3.
And not only that, but Bobby Brown's 330 at the nose. I expect they'll put Brown wherever it's going to suit them. But yeah, I mean, they also have Jalen Phillips. I don't love that either. Can he stay healthy? To be determined. But they paid him a ton of money to be that guy. And so it's going to be a good test for Fano on that side. Nick Scorton, a guy that seems promising. We'll see what he can do heading into year 2.
Scorton is an A&M guy, right?
Yes.
Or do I have that wrong?
No, you're right. That's it. He's an A&M guy. 2nd round pick. And so, like, you sit there and you look at that front line, you're like, this is pretty solid.
Yeah.
They also added Lee
Devin
Hunter.
Lloyd. Oh, linebacker.
Lee Hunter in the defensive tackle room. So they've got another huge body as depth.
Oh,
now,
Lee Hunter. Okay.
Yeah. The big Texas Tech dude.
Yeah.
They have 2 big behemoths that they can essentially clog. Now, I don't think either of those guys is much of a pass rush threat, but like they can set the tone to force the Browns to be in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, which I would hate. Again, I do not want to be in a situation where the Browns are living in that world. Now, my hope is that the Browns are good enough at zone and moving the offensive line and everything else that they give guys like Bobby Brown and Hunter Lee fits because they struggle to move up and down the line to deal with that. That would be great. Keep them off balance that way. But they've got a bunch of heft on that group. And then, yes, Devin Lloyd, Trevin Wallace are good linebackers. Trevin Wallace is a guy I really liked as a draft prospect. They're really solid front 7-wise. Are you sitting there going, this is a star-studded front? No, but they do have some legit dudes. They're big. They're going to be an interesting test as a sort of, can the Browns figure out how to deal with this type of front? Because there's talent, there's big bodies. How are they going to deal with it? Talented linebackers. And then the secondary is J.C. Horn is good, certainly.
I like Morig too. Trevon Morig.
Yes, but their safeties are sort of intriguing in terms of what they do. Trevon Morig is certainly interesting. Nick Scott is a fine player. They drafted Zakee Wheatley. They've got Isaiah Simmons. They've got Lathan Ransom. They've got a very intriguing way to use their safeties. They could theoretically.
They've got like 6 or 7 first-round picks on that defense.
Yeah. Now, one of them is Isaiah Simmons. So, I mean, but they've got a lot of guys who are pretty good. And then they've got Mike Jackson from Seattle as a corner, and then Shao Wade Smith is the nickel. Maybe the Browns can find some headway there. Now, they did draft Will Lee behind to be a boundary corner. I don't know if he's a real threat to win that job or anything, but I think the front 7, front 8, however they want to play it, very impressive. Secondary has some pretty good players, and maybe that covers up for some deficiencies, and maybe the front 7 covers up for deficiencies. I do wonder if that's going to be an opportunity for the Browns to create some plays, cause some problems. And again, this is going to be their first game at home. Hopefully that's a benefit, but it's not going to be easy. Now, I say this, and in a world where the Browns had Myles Garrett, they were going to kill that little boy. Now I have to see Jared Verse and the defensive tackles do it, or blitzes or whoever, I still sit there and go, please don't lose this child who's playing quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. But there's less certainty in that respect in terms of what you can do against him. Nevertheless, he's very small, and the Browns have very big, strong guys that can hopefully break him in half.
Yeah, agreed. Get to the quarterback and shake him up, rough him up, make him think every time he drops back. All right. Well, we're gonna jump to week 4 in the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I do have to run upstairs for 2 seconds. I have to help with the puppy real quick, Pete. So take us into the Pittsburgh Steelers real quick. And real quick, Chef, it's all right that you're late. Good to see you, brother. And nothing new on LeBron. I think we're waiting until Thursday. But Pete, take us away. Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll be right back.
All right, Pittsburgh Steelers are a problem. They have what Aaron Rodgers is going to give you, who knows? But structurally, they're very sound offensively. They've got a young and improving offensive line. Troy Fatano moving the left tackle. They've got Dylan Cook theoretically right tackle. Max Ahanatroy they drafted. If he can take over that job, they're really good shape overall. Mason McCormick's okay, he's fine. Zach Frazier's a good center. They've got Spencer Anderson at the guard, so like they're pretty solid on the line. Then if you cater to Aaron Rodgers, get him big boys who can go down the field and make plays, or big boys who catch the ball very quickly, which is more likely to be the case. DK Metcalf's a problem. Was a problem against the Browns last year. Michael Pittman trade continues to annoy me that they got him so cheap.
Very much so.
And then we'll see what happens. There's a lot of talk that Jeremy Bernard is good. We'll see. I mean, the only thing that the Jeremy Bernard buzz tells me is Roman Wilson is just done. He's just never going to be amount to anything, which I'm okay with. Now, that's the receiver position. Their tight ends are problems. Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth. We'll see if they use him this year. Robert Tonyan. Like, they've got a lot of bodies that can create issues. Darnell Washington's a huge issue because he's so good as a sixth lineman who can catch passes and create some problems. And then Jalen Warren has been a nightmare for the Browns. Mm-hmm. He does not play nearly like I don't know if he plays anyone as well as he plays the Browns. Rico Dowdle, I think, is a really, really good signing for them. I think he will be fine. Still makes me wonder about Caleb Johnson. Maybe that pick is already cooked. I can hope. So, yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the big question. Can he do it another year? Can he do enough? Because if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to be sitting here as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and go, what if we had anything that was sustainable at quarterback? How good would we feel, as opposed to putting the collective franchise's life in the hands of 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers is the whole thing. And the Browns got the best and the worst of Aaron Rodgers. The first matchup where the Steelers won, he made a bunch of big-time throws, and you're just like, okay, I guess that's it. And then the second time, he was completely unwilling to do anything. He didn't want to get hit, and he basically gave the game away. So that is a question. So unless somebody emerges or whatever, maybe they trade for Jacoby Brissett. I don't know. I assume Aaron Rodgers can be that dude until he breaks. We'll see. So they're really solid from that standpoint. Defensively, I think their defense is really stacked well.
Before you dive into the defense, I wanted to bring this up, and then Jonathan tweeted it here. Eli Heidenreich, that's an annoying pick for them. I feel like that's a good ball player that could stick around and be just like a good, annoying nuisance for the Browns.
I think Eli Heidenreich caters well to what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, which is get the ball out of his hands. Now, I haven't heard much in terms of how he's doing, but he was a player I certainly liked for that element of just being able to put him out in space, either from the backfield or as a slot receiver, and just give him the ball.
Really nice athlete, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's really, really talented from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another guy that they have. I don't know what he's doing. Same thing with like Riley Nowakowski from Indiana. They drafted as a fullback. I really liked him in college. The ways you could utilize him, I think he's just, in terms of what he can do for a football team, I think he's just an upgrade to Cam Hayward's little brother. Like, I just think he's better at a lot of things. So I'll be curious to see if he starts getting some passes and creating problems from that standpoint.
Tell me about this front seven, Pete, because on paper, it's pretty legit. Like some of the young guys they have on the defensive line, we like coming out of the draft. I know you were huge on Keanu Benton when they drafted him. Derek Harmon had a nice year, had some sacks last year. Obviously, Hayward's still there. You look at outside linebacker; they're 4 deep, right? They're fourth outside linebackers. Who our boy Jack Sawyer, who we like. You know, Pittsburgh's
the big question is whether you keep everybody.
Yeah,
because every so often you keep hearing they might trade Alex Highsmith. Now they've got to get something of use back. So I don't know if that's going anywhere or not, or they're just content to keep him. Derek Carmen and Keanu Benton have both flashed as a pass rusher. They are both wildly inconsistent defending the run. So that's the area where the Steelers are basically desperately hoping they're going to figure that part out. Now, they have drafted behind them or signed behind them to sort of deal with the issue. Yaya Black. And Sebastian, he's a big imposing guy who's occasionally flashed, but not great. Sebastian Joseph Day is a good, solid run-stopping defensive tackle. That's going to help them out quite a bit. And then, Cam Hayward, he's 75 years old, and he's still outstanding. So, at some point, I feel like the powers are going to wear off, and then he's going to be – because if he's not one, there's 2 elements to this. They need him to be this good.
Yeah.
They desperately need him to be this. Because if he's not, they are way worse.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Pete. That, there's no fall off. Weren't we supposed to trade for him at the end of his career in 2018?
No, he
what the hell?
He was threatening he was going to sign with the Browns to get more money out of the Steelers, and they quickly gave him more money. 37 years old, still looks fantastic. So now, inside linebackers, they're not good. They are not good.
Patrick Queen, don't like Patrick Queen, and Peyton Wilson's just.
I hated Patrick Queen coming out of the draft. I said he was over with the Ravens. I said it was a bad contract for the Steelers. He's been crap.
Yeah.
Peyton Wilson is not good. He's athletic, fine. I thought Cole Holcomb was a really good player, and then he had the unfortunate injury. I don't know if he will ever return to form.
Be that guy.
Really good. And I remember him laying there on the field and TJ Watt chatting it up with the opponent as he's being tended to. Regardless, their inside linebacker is not great. Now, maybe they will figure it out how to make it look better than it is, but I think that's the biggest weakness on their defense right now. You mentioned that their outside linebackers are really good.
Secondary is nasty.
And then the secondary just has endless depth. I don't think there's a team in the NFL has a better corner group overall from top to bottom than the Steelers do, because they go.
Look at the safety group, Pete. The safeties are tough. And that's not even including the fact that Ramsey can drop back and play a little safety too.
Well, here's the thing. So here at corner, they have Joey Porter Jr. and they have Jamel Dean. Then they have Jalen Ramsey, who gets to play nickel, and they have Asante Samuel, who can theoretically come in and allow Jalen Ramsey to play some other sort of convoluted position. They just keep going at corner. And they drafted my guy, Dalen Everett, which I'm still bitter about.
Yep.
So they are 5 deep at corner of guys that I would feel good about playing. Now, I don't know what Dalen Everett's actually doing, but nevertheless, they are in really, really good shape. Dalen Everett is going to be, I assume, primarily the next man up on the outside if they can get him there. Asante Samuel has the ability to do both. He's better sort of inside, but he can do it. But Deshaun Elliott is just a fine safety. Jaquan Brisker, I think, is a really good signing, annoyingly good. I think Darnell Savage will be good in the role they're asking him to play, which is to be less of a down-to-down player. I think he's going to be more of a coverage guy behind him. And then they've got some other guys they brought in that they don't really have as much depth safety. They're asking Robert. They've got Robert Spears Jennings, who was a 7th-round pick. They've got Jack Henderson. That may be a position where they're looking for help.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, like if they stay healthy, their defense is annoyingly solid, and I think it's going to be a massive problem for the Browns. And the biggest problem is not that this gets solved by Deshaun Watson, because it doesn't, but young quarterbacks struggle with what the Steelers present. You need, like, veterans tend to fare better, and I exclude Deshaun Watson from that because he just stinks. But like, Mike Tomlin gave the game away by admitting how annoyed he was that the Bengals got Joe Flacco because
Yeah.
he enough times and then tore them up. So, yeah, I think their defense is in a really, really good spot. There are a couple areas where you're sitting there going, maybe age will catch up with some of these guys. They're on the older side, but man, they are really, really solid.
I haven't paid a ton of attention to Mike McCarthy's coaching staff. Are they making any staff changes defensively? Is it going to be the same system and the same scheme and all that stuff?
They brought in the former Raiders defensive coordinator, Graham.
Okay.
I don't know what is changing. I just know that he has a particular style that I think he's going to lean into. That's going to be certainly different from what they were doing before, because everybody hated what the Steelers were doing defensively in terms of schematics. Wanted Terrell Austin to be run out of the building as fast as possible. So Patrick Graham, when the Raiders had some talent, he was there. He did some pretty interesting things. So I do think that's going to end up being an upgrade for them. But like overall, I can't give you specifics as to what he's going to do differently from the Raiders, other than I think it's going to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, well, the Steelers have never been short on putting pressure on the opposing offense, but it's definitely enough of a change that it's not just going to be like an open and close, like, oh yeah, this defense is going to be lights out, yada yada yada. I mean, we'll see how quickly it all comes together, but the talent and the depth on that defense is legitimately frustrating, and the fact that like guys just haven't fought, like the fact that Cam Hayward is still as powerful and as problematic at the point of attack as it is blows my mind. It really, really frustrates the hell out of me. Because, I mean, I feel like he's been the engine that's driven that defense since he's been there, man.
Pretty much. And then obviously they're looking at TJ Watt, who was not as good as he has been this past year. Is he going to bounce back? Is Jalen Ramsey going to be able to sustain at his age? I mean, they're both basically 31.
There are certain Steeler fans that think Watt might be the third best outside linebacker on the team right now.
Yes, they love Nick Herbig, as they should. And yeah, I mean, Alex Highsmith is very good at his very specified role. Yeah. But again, are they going to keep him? Is there something better out there? I don't know. I said at the time, you should have moved off from Watt and just leaned into the other two, but hey,
that contract's bad.
It is bad.
Yeah. All right. Well,
it's very interesting that the thing we wanted the Browns to do, the Steelers did, and we look at the Steelers situation, we think it's awful, and the Browns got rid of the guy who never broke down.
Yeah.
Obviously got the big haul. There is no big haul for TJ Watt. Nothing.
Oh, no. No. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. You're not going to be able to trade that contract at this point. So it's like whatever, assets you think you might get in return, you factor that contract in, and you better go to the other end of the draft. It's like day 2 at the very, 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 very best. And I'm talking like round 3. Yep. How about let's shuffle over week 5. We're looking at the New York Jets. Now, this is one that's a little bit more on our level. Let's talk. Let's start with your boy Geno.
Well, Geno is clear of charges. That's a big step. That's a good thing for him. I am curious to see what he's going to do, because they've got dudes, like they've got weapons. See this thing be effective, and Geno Smith could. I don't know if he's going to necessarily have a full-on resurgence, but could be way better than what they've had. And you've got Garrett Wilson, you've got Omar Cooper that you got in the draft, you've got the mercurial Adonai Mitchell, who can occasionally do some stuff, and then make one of the most incredible plays all season, then fumble it out the back of the end zone for no apparent reason. They've got Tim Patrick. I don't know what he really has to offer at this point. So they've got that. And then on the other side, they've got Mason Taylor and Kenyon Sadiq. And I'm very curious to see everything with this. How are they going to deploy them? How do they want to utilize them? Because you can talk yourself into a scenario where Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., Kenyon Sadiq, Mason Taylor on the field, and you're like, yeah, this could be interesting. You're asking a lot because two of those guys have not played a single down in the NFL, and Mason Taylor was fine. Certainly somebody you're sitting there excited about for year two, but you're do it. So that's a really interesting setup. Now, offensive tackle wise, they're good. Olufashinu and Armand Membu are both very good. Now they need to take another step. They both did give up a fair number of sacks, but they are talented. They have their offensive line on the interior is sort of a mishmash of guys. They brought in Dylan Parham, who's okay. They have Joe Tippmann, who they're at least listed right now as playing right guard, and Josh Myers playing center. I don't think that's a particularly great setup. And I sit there and look at the Browns' defensive tackles and stunts and all this other stuff, and I hope they just feast on those. And I hope the just general amount of things the Browns can do defensively confuses that whole unit and causes them problems. So I look at that and sit there and go, yes, they have talent, but I do wonder if that's something the Browns can sort of take advantage of. And we saw what happened. I mean, listen, man, destroyed him for 4 quarters last year, and he still threw ball after ball where you're going.
He really did. He threw dimes. Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got Breece Hall, who's fantastic. You've got Braylon Allen, who's coming off the injury. Hopefully he's healthy for them.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you've got a really strong 1-2 punch.
Yep.
Like, you can squint and see a way where this works. Now, do I think it's really going to work like that? Not really. And the problem is, if you're the Jets, how much do you really want it to work is a fair question to ask.
I was shocked that they made the move for Geno. They've got 3 first-round picks this year. Like, I thought that this was the last year that you just, hey, we're keeping Aaron Glenn for a reason. We're going to finish this. We're going to get Arch at number 1 and then have 2 more first-rounders to stockpile around him. And then they go and sign Geno Smith. And I'm telling you, Pete, this is a problem if you want the Jets to draft early. He can play. The tackles are good. The weapons are there. This could be the best Jets offense since Ryan Fitz in 2015, dude.
Yes. And the Dolphins are sitting there going, pound us so hard. So like the Geno Smith, matchup against the Miami Dolphins, where you've got these 2 quarterbacks who desperately want to prove themselves, and their teams are like, look, man, put up a bunch of numbers, but don't try too hard. Is a very strange deal for them. So I don't know what to make of this. I expect it's going to fall apart somewhere because that's what the Jets do. But it's at least going to be an interesting experiment to see where this thing goes.
Yeah, agreed. Now, what's interesting with the Jets, though, is you go to the other side of the ball, there's some potential there, Pete. There's some definite potential, right? They swung the trade. They traded Jermaine Johnson for Tavondre Sweat early in the offseason to get more of a nose tackle, right? But you look at the edge rushers, Will McDonald has become a pretty damn good pass rusher, right? And then you're adding David Bailey to that. I love D'Angelo Pons, who they got in the 2nd round.
Okay. I look at this and I sit there and go, the Browns would butcher this team on defense. And it's because, like, if they are starting with David Onyemata and Tavondre Sweat and Harrison Phillips, who I really like, but he's gotten older, and you're sitting there going, well, we got David Bailey and what's his face? The
Will McDonald
or Joseph Asai. These are not like capable run players. I sit there and go, you can zone this team to death. Now, if they put in Juwan Briggs, I suddenly get a little more nervous because he's pretty good. But nevertheless, that's like to me, that's tailor-made for a tailor-made defense that the Browns should eviscerate on the ground if this offensive line is going to work. Because again, you're asking Tavondre Sweat theoretically to play down the line of scrimmage. Great. Love it. Let's go. You're asking David Onyemata and Harrison Phillips to play down the line of scrimmage. And Harrison Phillips is 30. He's a good player. Again, David Onyemata, 33. Just
Yeah,
where
still
these
got
then you're
Mozzie
asking
Smith in that Quinn Williams trade.
then you're asking these edge rushers who have never been good run defenders to be good run defenders. Like, this is a game where I sit there and go, Spencer Fano should absolutely feast as a run blocker. And I'm hoping that's what happens, and that Quinshon Judkins and company can go off. Now we'll see. Again, there's so much for this group to prove, but just looking at this defense, I sit there and go, man, it's a really good setup. Now they do have Kingsley and Igbare as depth. That could be interesting. And then linebackers, Jamie Sherwood is a guy I really liked. He's found a home there. He's okay.
Mario Davis is a stud.
Mario Davis is good.
Obviously long in the tooth.
He's old, yes. And then they don't have.
Now I know his brother, right?
Yes. But like none of those guys behind them have like done anything.
Mm-mm.
And then you go to the secondary and you go D'Angelo Pons. Yep, could be a very good player. Brandon Stevens, a draft pick the Ravens did not retain. He's super athletic, but hasn't really proven himself. I think he should be okay. Just okay at the style of corner he plays isn't great. It's asking for problems. And then you've got Nashawn Wright, who's fine for what he is. But again, I look at this and go, the Browns should find a way to take advantage of it. And you've got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who used to be a phenomenal player and really fell off last year. Now, Can he get better? Maybe. Can he get rebound and all that? And they've got Andre Cisco. Those are fine, solid players. But I sit there and look at this and I go, come on, man. They've got to be able to find a way to get this going. This is not a good defense. It sets up well to what I think the Browns want to do. I'm hoping this is a team where the Browns can really get it going and not die on that turf.
Agreed. And that's, the thing that you and I talked about all off season. One thing that I wanted the Browns to do that they kind of went in the other direction of, I wanted a physically imposing, strong run blocking offensive line. I felt like, given our quarterback situation, I want to protect them as much as possible with the strong running game, support the defense, yada, yada, yada. Browns went in the other direction. They went with, obviously, Fano's fantastic, but with a lot of the other guys, they went more athleticism. They went finesse. They went, a little less brute strength and size and stuff like that. So that's the most interesting thing for me, is how we're going to be able to run the ball. Because you said it yourself, Monken wants to run power. He wants that to be a part of the equation, but I don't know if we're built for it if we don't have, KT Leviston at right guard.
Hard to say. I mean, what is to be determined is, can the left side move guys off the ball? Where are they going to put Elton Jenkins? Because he's got a decent amount of strength. If it's Parker Brailsford, that raises a lot of questions. Not necessarily bad. It just raises more questions. And then if it's Elton Jenkins at center and right guard, you're sitting there going, can they deal with any quickness or everything else, especially if it's Leviston? And then is Titus Howard going to be better as a run blocker than he has been? The evidence would suggest no. They can personnel it to a certain extent with adding a fullback and seeing if they can get something out of an inline tight end that can create situations. But I think so much of this can be predicated on creating enough doubt that it then allows them to do things the teams don't expect. So if teams are worried about getting beat on the outside, have to play that and lighten up the box, then hopefully Quinshon Judkins has the ability to find room, or Raheem Sanders or whoever that can create some problems. But they have to be able to prove that. Otherwise, everybody's just play them like zone.
Do you foresee Monken using Concepcion the way that he used Zay Flowers? Lots of motions, moving him around, letting the defense kind of show you what they're doing, whether it's man or zone or anything like that. Do you think that's still going to be like a main part of his deal?
Yes. The question is, then what happens? Like I imagine there's going to be a lot of crossover. I don't think it's a bad comparison by any stretch. Casey Concepcion is bigger. Zay Flowers is a little bit quicker. Okay, but like they do a lot of things similarly, and I could see where they are just moving Casey Concepcion around to find him ways to get the ball, or to create enough confusion that other guys are open as a result.
All right. Well, let's move to the next guy on the schedule here. We got the Baltimore Ravens, Pete. And our old friend Lamar Jackson, and got new coaching staff over there, new offensive system, all that fancy stuff. What is your number one concern with Baltimore outside of Lamar Jackson? Offensively, let's stick with the offense to start.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know that this team's that good. I mean, I guess it's Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
Just by virtue, again, he plays in a position where he can move all around and find openings. Rashad Bateman is fine. Devontae Walker is your other starting receiver. Is that serious? Like,
seems like it.
I'm good with that matchup. Like, I feel okay with that. It's all about, can you deal with Zay Flowers? So I guess that's the answer. Offensive line wise, it's a very curious setup. Vega Ione is going to be fine. I don't worry about him, and I think John Simpson will be fine. I think that was a smart signing for them.
Danny, think about the tackles.
I don't know what to make of Ronnie Stanley at this point, because like he's been so hurt that they've rotated based on what they're doing or just reps on that. And I think they are quietly excited about Carson Vincent. I don't know how quickly he's going to get to where they need him to go.
Yeah.
But if Ronnie Stanley's hurt, Carson Vincent's going in. He's going to have to grow up real fast.
Yep.
Because it'll be him, a rookie at left guard, and then Danny Pinter at center, which I don't know that that's a realistic way to go. Now, Danny Pinter is very athletic, but he hasn't really proven anything.
Yeah.
And there's a world where the Browns can just bully him. And then Roger Rosengarten, I think, is okay. I think he's overrated relative to what I've seen from him. Mm-hmm. I'm never that impressed with him. I didn't like him all that much coming out of Washington. I think he's okay. Now, maybe he's ready in year 3 to really improve, get a whole lot better. But I've never sat there and go, man, Roger Rosengarten, what are the Browns going to do against this guy? Like, I'm not that impressed. I just think the Ravens have more work to do on their front. And again, getting Simpson was very smart. And Ioane is a good pickup. I just don't know that. I just think they had more work to do. Which is saying a lot, that they replaced 3 starters, and I still don't feel very good about their situation. And I really like 2 of their moves. So that's a question. And then tight end wise, I'm still baffled that they kept Mark Andrews.
Did they do anything to replace what they're losing in Isaiah Likely? It doesn't seem like it. I mean, you got Surratt and who's the other receiver they took? Jacoby Lane they took in the draft. They took a couple of big-bodied kids in the draft, physical guys, more intermediate route stuff. So I guess that could be an answer there.
They drafted 2 tight ends. They drafted Matt Hibner in the 4th round I think that's out of SMU, and Josh Davis, I think who's out of
Alabama, right? Yeah.
5th round, and they signed Durham Smythe. Okay, like this is a team that had Charlie Kolar and Isaiah Likely. Like that is
behind Mark Andrews in his prime. Yeah.
Unless these guys are going to be way better. I think the Ravens offense is in a real problem. And the other part about this is beyond what I'm seeing here. They go from Todd Monken to Declan Doyle. Nobody seems to know, like there are a lot of people talking a big game about Declan Doyle is going to be great. But like Todd Monken was really good. Now you can say what you will about last year, but I think you're going to be asking for Lamar Jackson to carry this team in a way that I just don't think is feasible.
Yeah.
Because it's going to involve him running more, which always leads him to being in position to get hit more.
Well, and he hasn't had to carry them like this for the last few years. So you're taking an older and more beaten down Lamar and asking him to do more at this stage in his career. That's a tough ask, man.
And who am I to bet against Derrick Henry at this point? But he is 32.
Yep.
So what does that look like? So I think their offense is worrying. in a way where I could see this thing sort of fall apart. One of the many reasons I think the Bengals are the best team in the division. I think they're just better. Now, I would be curious to see if I'm wrong, but like I sit there and I go, this team is not better than it was last year on offense.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, and I think we're both on the same page with Cincinnati. I think I think Cincinnati is the class of the division. I think Pittsburgh's closer to Baltimore than I initially thought. You know, I just
a lot depends on Aaron Rodgers. I think Pittsburgh has more talent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the quarterback situation's overwhelming in favor of the Ravens. All right, well let's talk about the defense now, Pete. The defensive front, you're getting Matabike back, right? And then you're looking at John Jenkins and Travis Jones on the defensive line. We like Travis Jones, but that doesn't seem a lot is on Matabike.
Yeah, I mean he's a main element of their pass rush, and they got Calais Campbell. I have no idea what his life is going to be like for this year, given what he's dealing with.
Yep. Shocking.
He's been ageless to this point, but like he's 39, and this is what he's dealing with in real life.
Yeah.
So like Matabike has been their best interior pass rusher and a huge element of their pass rush overall, because on the outside you've got Tavius Robinson. You're betting on Trey Hendrickson, which should be fine to a certain point. And then you drafted Zion Young, and you've still got Mike Green. So you've got options there where you can at least talk yourself into some upside.
Yeah.
Linebackers, I think they're bad. Roquan Smith is not what he once was. He's even acknowledging that last year was bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to get better. And then
that's a rough contract too for an off-ball linebacker who's losing a step, man.
And then next to him, like at least right now, at least our lad seems to think
Buchanan.
Teddy Buchanan's going to start, who's a rookie.
No, he was a 7th rounder out of Cal last year, I think.
Fourth round out of Cal last year.
Was he a 4th rounder? I thought he was late.
So that seems the way they think they're going on that. I don't think that situation is great. I think their secondary is good.
Yeah.
Nate Wiggins, we'll see if he can take another step forward, but he's been solid. Kyle Hamilton is the superstar. Malachi Starks, can he take a big step in year 2? Chidobe Awuzie is just a good player. How long can he keep it going? I don't know, but he's just rock solid. And then Marlon Humphrey at nickel. How long is that going to last? Still a very savvy player, but is he going to be able to make an effective transition? To be determined. And they've got some guys behind them where you sit there and go, yeah, they're at least trying in the backups, but like questions all over the place for the Ravens. And it is a team where you were asking stars to cover a lot. And that there are certainly examples where that works, but I'm just not convinced that the Ravens have enough to sort of to make up for the areas where they are deficient.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's going to be very interesting to see what Jesse Minter's imprint on that team and that roster is going to be. And coming from John Harbaugh, it's tall order to assume that it's going to be a lateral move. It's almost certainly going to be a step back. So that's another big part of it.
The defense should have a better scheme this year, but offense is the big question. Can Declan Doyle do it? Jesse Minter, can he make up for what they don't have? Maybe he can on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
But the offense is I don't love the situation. Maybe they will prove me wrong. Lamar Jackson is a fantastic player that can fix a lot. Maybe Derrick Henry stays super healthy and has another great year in him. But the receivers are not outside of Zay Flowers, a whole bunch of question marks. Tight end is worse.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see how this goes.
Well, fingers crossed they run into as many roadblocks as possible. All right, well, let's go the following week. We've got the Tennessee Titans. We got Cam Ward entering year 2. They've They've started, surrounding him with some talent. What do you think about Cam Ward? I'm a Cam Ward guy personally, but I don't know. You think Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh are going to be able to figure this kid out?
I think he's got weapons now.
Mhm.
I like what they've done weapon wise. Other than I think the contract they gave to
The kid from the
Robinson
Giants.
is preposterous. But
Yeah.
Elick Eumane was pretty good as a rookie last year. Calvin Ridley, his contract sucks, but whatever. He's an okay receiver. And then you add Carnell Tate to that mix. Like I think they have 4 guys that can contribute. Even Chamari DK
Mm-hmm.
made some plays last year. So they've got guys from that standpoint. And then you've got Gunnar Helm at tight end, Daniel Bellinger at tight end. Like, I think they can cobble together something out of those guys. The question that continues to be around this team is offensive line.
Yep.
Now, Myles Garrett is no longer here. So Dan Moore is no longer an automatic win. But obviously, you sit there and you look at Jared Verse and you go, I don't see any reason you can't kill him.
Yeah.
Skoronski's fine. Skoronski's their best lineman. Austin Schlottman, Cordell Volson of Bengals fame, who was all of the Bengals, and I wanted the Bengals to extend him into eternity. And then J.C. Latham, who's a very good run blocker, but a very questionable pass protector.
Yeah.
That is not good. Mm-hmm. And their depth, they've actually got okay depth, but like okay in the sense that they've got a whole bunch of bodies. I just don't know if anything they lose its starting is going to be other than Skoronski. If it's going to get that much dramatically worse, probably not. But it's just so bad, and so I think Cam Ward has a ton of talent. This offensive line is so bad.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard, Ty Spears, Nick Singleton. Interesting crew. Again, can you block enough for them, or can you get around it? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think had Love been there at 4, do you think they would have taken him over Carnell Tate?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Because like that's the funny thing about their running back room. It's not great, but it's not bad. Pollard can play, and Tajay Spears has flashed tremendously. And the whole thing with Singleton, number one, he's got to get healthy, but physically, he's an impressive athlete, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's outstanding athlete. So again, can you get him the ball in space? We shall see. But everything for them is, can you protect Cam Ward, or can you get enough of a running game that you're not just asking Cam Ward to drop it back 50 times and throw the ball every play?
So he got crushed a lot last year. Not he got crushed a lot. He was excused for a lot of last year because of the last few years, just how incapable of protecting the quarterback Tennessee has been. None of the quarterbacks, whether it was Malik Willis or Tannehill late or eventually Will Levis, they've all looked the same, right? They've all had the same issues. But I will say this about Cam Ward, the talent oozing out of his ears. But this is a kid that struggles to play on time. He doesn't really play in a lot of structure. And I feel like for as far as number 1 picks go, he needed a lot more work than they put into him. And I think a better organization would have at least sat him for a little bit of that season and let him kind of rewire things, because he's a remarkably talented player, but he plays a lot of backyard football.
Yep. And, I think part of bringing Brian Daboll in is because he's not afraid to lean into that, but how sustainable is that?
Yeah. Well, you got to think of Brian Daboll can tell anything to Cam Ward. It's, hey, I want you to watch film on Josh Allen as a rookie, and I want you to see what I've worked with and what I can mold you into, All right, let's go. All right, next on the list here, because it's we already did the Steelers, New Orleans Saints. Let's talk about Tyler Shuck, Pete, because Tyler Shuck was actually with Dylan Gabriel, was probably higher on the list than Dylan Gabriel was for the players I would have lost my you-know-what if the Browns would have drafted. And a year later, I look like a horse's ass, but I wanted absolutely nothing to do with him.
Yeah, well, you're going to play the long game, and you're ultimately going to win out because Tyler Shuck is going to get hurt at some point, and it's going to be bad.
What
That
if
is
he
the truth.
doesn't? What if he
Oh,
doesn't? Pete, he was so much better than I thought he would be. And I'm not saying he's great, but I thought he was down here and he played up here.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but regardless, he's going to get hit by people, and eventually it's going to. He got hurt. Like at one point, he got an injury from not doing anything. Like his track record is horrendous. Now, maybe there's something they've done to sort of address some of this, but it's not like it's like one body part that's consistently. He's hurt a whole lot of different things.
Yeah.
So I just think you are. There's a reason that's where you were able to get him, and you're able to look smart. But like, I think in year 2, year 3, at some point this could catch up with him, and they're going to be back to a bad situation, which is why they kept. Maybe they will trade him. I don't expect they will. I think Spencer Rattler is there for a reason because they feel like there's a real situation where they could need him and quickly. Beyond that, their offensive line is reasonably good. David Edwards was a good signing for them. Kelvin Banks is a really good tackle. Waga not doing so great. Cesar Ruiz is solid. Eric McCoy is solid. So they've got an okay front. And then they've got fragile their top 2 receivers are fragile.
Yeah, paper mache.
But
really talented. Really talented.
And then you've got a very curious, which could be fun, running back room with Travis Etienne and Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara. Yep.
Now, what does that ultimately look like? I don't know. So, like, it could be a fun offense. Like, they have enough things where you sit there and go, okay, I can see it. But if Chris Olave goes down or Jordan Tyson continues to deal with issues and you're wondering when you're going to get these guys on the field or whatever, that applies to Kamara, that applies to Shuck, that applies to Tyson, that applies to Olave. That's a lot of guys that you're counting on with major injury tags.
Yeah, to be lucky. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Have you heard anything about Tyson working out down there? No. Because I was under the impression that he was hurt and he was being held out. But then I saw a quote from Tyler Shuck the other day about how just naturally amazing he is. And I was wondering if you had heard anything.
No, I assume he's practicing in some form. I think it's just a very they're sort of planning
cautious
it out
and
on and off, which would drive me insane. Not being able to practice consistently for a guy who's just entering the league and you just use a top 10 pick on would drive me nuts. Maybe it works for them. It just seems sketchy to me. He can be a fine player. Chris Olave is a fine player. Like, these are all – they have a lot of good players with the caveat of if.
I like their tight end room, Pete.
Yep.
I like Noah Fant quite a bit. Oscar Delp is a guy that we wanted and that we apparently were going to draft until the Saints traded up and snagged him in front of us. Then we traded down and got Austin Barber.
Not only that, they have Trayden Welch was a guy I wanted as an undrafted free agent a couple years ago. And then they've got Malachi Matavo, who was a guy I wanted late round as a tight end at UCLA when he led the whole offense in yardage. And our boy ZMP is down there as well. So I'll be curious to see if there's a world where the Browns are paying attention to that. Not that I want ZMP back, but where they are paying attention to like that tight end room and going, well, if they let a guy like Matavo walk or something, as a waiver, that they go out and get him. I'll be curious to see if that is a thought process if the Browns are truly happy with their tight end room or not. But yeah, they've got a lot of bodies in there that I think can be really good. From the Saints standpoint, are they going to try to do the thing where are they going to try to do 13 personnel and do all that stuff because they've got enough guys for it?
Yeah.
Is that something they want to do? To be determined.
How about defensively? I mean, Cameron Jordan's been there forever. He's, their version of Cameron Hayward, essentially. I think he's just a year less in the league, 2011. Then Brian Barisi out of Clemson's a good player. Chase Young has kind of recaptured a bit of his career over there. What do you think about that defense?
I think their secondary is really good
Mhm.
overall. Justin Reed is a safety I've always really liked. They've got Kool-Aid McKinstry. They've got Quincy Riley. And then Martin Emerson is hanging out there. We'll see what that goes. Wearing number 47. That's
Hate that.
not great for him. Julian Blackmon's a perfectly fine safety. And then I really like Jonas Sanker. So, like, that's a good 5 deep group.
Sanker, that's the out of Virginia, right? Safety. Yeah.
So I like that setup. Um, their front is a little bit concerning. Ryan Brissy has not done much. Chase Young was great, but another guy on this team recently go,
Yeah.
please stay healthy. Um, Carl Granderson is a solid player. They've got Jordan Cameron. So they've got some options in terms of that. I don't love their depth. They did draft Christian Miller, which should help behind Godchow, which should make their situation a little bit better. If Christian Miller can be the dude they need him to be, since they got him in round 2, that
Mhm.
could be a really good pick for them. Um, like, I don't know that they have a ton of depth. They've got a team that's sort of intriguing on the defensive side of the ball. I think their secondary is good. I think their linebackers are fine. Ken Ellis is fine. Pete Warner is fine. Um, I'm not overly excited about it, but I think they can be a decent enough unit. But they really need Brian Bresee to like become something.
Step up. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: as it stands right now, as you look at both of these rosters and the state that they're in, who do you think is going to be favored in this matchup? I don't know off the top of my head whether this is home or away. I want to say it's on the road. I think it's in New Orleans.
Oh, then New Orleans will be
Yeah.
favored, and they
Well,
should
who
be.
do
The
do
voodoo.
you see this though as a winnable game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
the Browns can injure any number of guys on their team and completely just. I mean, I think the states are okay. I don't know. I just
You don't trust the quarterback yet. That's a big part of it, and that's okay. I
I
don't
don't
blame you.
trust that,
Certainly
but
don't
like
blame you.
I don't know what the vision is for this team in certain respects. That I sit there and go, like I feel like I'm not like again. Their front has talent. It's not that it's bad. I'm just not worried about it. Where I think they're going to crush the Browns.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is you look at this talent they've collected, and there are probably 5 very important pieces that are super injury prone and are very likely to not be there eventually. So, like,
Yeah.
I get it. That's definitely a tough team to trust. You know,
Yep.
it's the old adage: if you could turn off injuries, they'd be phenomenal.
Listen, I don't know why we don't do that. Stupid, but regardless, yeah. I mean, the fact that when the Browns play the Saints in the middle of the season, they're about, as you mentioned, 5 guys where you could sit there and go, man, coming into the season, yeah, they look pretty good, and then they could be completely different team based on injuries, as could all of them. But I mean, specifically this team
Yeah.
because so many of them have had real major injuries.
Yep. All right, well, let's move on down the line. The Houston Texans. Let's talk about CJ Stroud. We've talked about CJ a little bit. I like CJ Stroud, but I like him less and less as these years go by.
It ain't happening. He's not good. He's actually getting worse.
Yep.
Uh,
Well, let
those,
me ask you this:
those
is
players
that a
think
is that a
they're right.
player thing or is that a team failure?
Both. It's
Yeah.
both. Unquestionably, they absolutely screwed him
Yep.
by getting rid of Laramie Tunsil and taking apart that line out from under him. That was
Yep.
stupid. But man, I do not. And like it's complete speculation. I do not see a guy who looks like he's excited about playing or wants to get better or any of these other things. He strikes me as a guy, and again, complete speculation on my part, where he's happy for what football does for him. I don't know that he's like out there. He does not have that killer instinct to me in terms of I'm desperate to win this thing. He just seems like I'm along for the ride, and we'll see where this thing goes. And maybe it's going to click for him this year. Their offensive line is slightly better, maybe. Like Ariante Ursery is fine. They can't be serious with Wyatt Teller at left guard. Like, come on, man. Keelan Rutledge, I really like. Ed Martin is okay, I guess. Braden Smith, good player, but major injury. So
Are they putting Rutledge at center? They keeping him a right guard.
they're listing him at center.
I love that.
Yeah, not me. I'd want him at guard. But regardless, they've basically assembled a lot of mediocre linemen, and they're hoping they can find 5 of them to work. Like,
There's some big boys on that line. That's a physical line.
I mean, it used to be.
Yeah.
Wyatt Teller used to be a beast. He's just
Yeah.
not. But yeah, I mean, I like listening to Check the Mic talk about it. I don't think they're wrong. Like, if you say take the best, who's got the best line from player 1 to player 8, it might be the Texans, but 1 to 5, they might be near the damn bottom of the league. And CJ Stroud has not played well in those circumstances. He's not been great, asked to be the main dude. They have not been a good run team. Maybe that is slightly improved this year, but like, for what? David Montgomery, okay. Woody Marks,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
They don't have much there. Dalton Schultz, rock solid. Foster Moreau, good player. Like, their tight end room is pretty good. Obviously, Nico Collins is great.
Jaden Higgins step up in a big way. Jalen Noel, another one.
They're waiting on those 2 guys to like become what they were drafted to be.
Yeah.
Can they take that step? And can Tank Dell come back and play? I mean,
at this point,
they're saying, they're talking like all these things are great and all these things work, and we'll see. And then Xavier Hutchinson, I think, is a solid 4th receiver. The problem is I don't know that they have a good 2.
Yeah.
And that's what they're waiting on. So offensively, they're okay. I again, another team where I sit there and go, did you do enough to really address this situation? Or did you just make your defense even better that was already the league and could be all-time level again? And the problem is they need them to be. They have to be. And that's a terrifying matchup for the Browns. There's no area where you sit there and go, I want to pick on that guy. They're nobody.
Yeah. Defense is crazy good. And that's the whole thing. They almost made a run in the playoffs with Stroud essentially playing for the other team. Like, it was wild how poorly CJ Stroud played, and that defense kept them in that game.
Yeah, the weakest guy to me, the 11th best player on the starting defense, from what I could tell, is Henry Tuo.
Yep.
But yeah,
I got him in fantasy. He's not even that bad, Pete.
I mean, it was ridiculous watching the Texans be like, CJ Stroud's completely screwed us. Don't worry, I'll go get a sack fumble and get the ball back. Try again. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That defense is something else, dude. And Will Anderson is just so good. Daniel Hunter is so good. Or Daniel Hunter. All right, how about okay. Here is a quite winnable game. How about the Las Vegas Raiders, Pete? Who's going to be quarterback at this point? You think we're seeing Mendoza by then? It's almost got to be, right?
Unless he's injured, I cannot imagine it's going to take that long. Yeah, I think he's got to be playing at that point. I mean,
do you think that Brady can have enough influence in that like Brady would mandate that he sits the whole year?
No. But ultimately, I think there comes a point where he risks alienating the coach.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I expect it will be Mendoza at that point. I don't think Kirk Cousins has near enough talent to function. I think it will be, not quite like Tim Couch, where you're sitting there going, all right, we're doing this thing, and then it's week 3, and you're like, yeah, this didn't work.
Yeah. Week 3, it was week 2, Pete.
Yeah, this isn't working. We're moving. Yeah, Mendoza, second quarter. Yep, we've made an edict. This is not working. And it's because I love Trey Tucker. I think he's tremendous. I mean, I don't think he's some superstar receiver, but I love what he does. Jalen Naylor, I think that's a good signing for them.
Jack Beck.
But Jack Beck, Dante Thornton, do they really have a number 1 receiver? Trey Tucker's a good player. he was annoying to deal with last year. I was like, Trey Tucker is a pain in the ass. I wish the Browns were able to get him. Now I sit there and go, we're fine. So I don't know if they have enough firepower from that standpoint. Brock Bowers, tremendous. Michael Mayer, fine. And then they also signed Ian Thomas. So they got tight ends. Offensive line, Colton Miller, great. Spencer Buford, meh. Tyler Linderbaum, he better be good because they're paying him.
He better be phenomenal.
Jackson Powers Johnson, fine. DJ Glaze, I love this kid, but he's having a rough go. So if he's really their right tackle, he's got to get a whole lot better. I think I was a big fan of him coming out of Maryland, but I sit there and go, yeah, the Browns should pick on that kid. So again, I sit there and I look at this offense and I go, not enough, nowhere near enough. This is going to be a long year on the offensive side of the ball for the Raiders, and maybe the reason that your best argument for not playing Mendoza is you don't want him to play in this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, let's talk about defensively now.
Also sucks.
Yeah, I was going to say this is going to be one of those matchups where it's like we should be like, okay, this could be a good offensive week for us.
Yeah, I like Kwity Paye. He's the best player in their front seven.
Better than Crosby?
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I know. I was teasing.
Yes, assuming Crosby's even there.
Yeah,
which is still unclear. But it's Crosby. Kwity Paye is your next player. They've got Kieran Crawford, which I find to be an interesting draft pick. They obviously signed Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. They should be fine. Now, I think they're going to regret those contracts, but regardless, they are fine. Adam Butler, Thomas Booker IV, Benito Jones, Tonka Hemingway. Come on, man. Jonah Lalu. I don't know who this person is. And then JJ Peaks, or however he pronounces that, Ole Miss. That's their defensive line. Like the interior is unserious. And then at corner, Darian Porter, Eric Stokes. Maybe they're going to strike gold, and Jermod McCoy is going to be that dude and jump in and be great. Jeremy Chin, I think, is fine. Just he's not a frontline. He's not going to fix these other guys that are not good. Isaiah Pull-Em-Out, I think, is okay. And then they got Taron Johnson from the Bills. But, like, I sit here and go, come on, man. This has got to be like last year where the Browns are like, we are off to the races and we are beating up on a team.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Pete. Say you are the Raiders and a year from now you're sitting at number 1 overall. Are you just putting Fernando Mendoza on the auction block, or are you putting the pick on the auction block?
Probably not. Probably not to the Mendoza point. I would probably auction off the pick because you were going to get an obscene offer.
Yeah.
Something, Ricky Williams type stuff. Potentially. Now, you could try to very quietly say, hey, we're willing to do either one and see which gets the best thing. But, like, the thing will happen is it will get out, and I think they will try to avoid that as much as possible. So I think they will just do it with the picks.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But, like, I think the Raiders are going to be terrible. I think they are going to be in prime, assuming they don't trade down, which would be a smart move. I think they're likely going to be the favorite for Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As it stands right now, I know that you are a while away from diving in and, putting together a list and everything like that. Do you envision anyone outside of Jeremiah Smith being number 1 on your big board?
As a player?
For the
maybe. We'll see what the Notre Dame corner can do. He's sort of like that guy in that realm, but it's going to be really tough because Jeremiah Smith is basically like 6'4", almost 230, runs incredibly fast.
He's been on the NFL waiting list since he was 17. Yeah, it just is.
So, it's tough. Would I want to draft him with the Browns? Not really. I'd rather trade down and get something else, but that will be its own conversation because there are going to be some really, really good defensive players, and the kid from Notre Dame could certainly be among them, and the Browns could potentially really use a corner at that point.
All right.
The quarterback.
Well, I will save that fight for another time because you know how I feel about corners. But let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, Pete Smith. We agree that Cincinnati is pretty much the front runner heading into this season for the AFC North.
Uh-huh.
They did some really nice things on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to get to in a minute, but let's talk about that offense, man. That passing game is probably the envy of the NFL, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, your whole thing is, one, their offensive line is not great. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's still not great. And you're basically saying, can Joe Burrow sustain? Can he make it through the whole season? Unclear.
Yeah.
Unclear. That's the whole thing for them because they have everything else. Jamar Chase, fantastic. T. Higgins, fantastic. Yosivas or Rich Tinsley or Charlie Jones, like they've got other guys that can contribute because those guys are so good up at the top of the list. Drew Sample's not much. Mike Gesicki, like their tight end room's still underwhelming, but they did get Jack injuries. I don't know if that's going to amount to much.
Outside of Burrow, well, I would say outside of Burrow and Chase, just because those two are, the two most talented players on the roster, most important players on the roster. They have nothing behind Chase Brown. That's a very surprising thing that they didn't do anything at running back, really. I mean, Taj Brooks, they drafted a year ago. He's okay. Samaje Perine just a dude. Like, isn't that interesting that they've just kind of overlooked the running back position?
I guess. I guess I like Samaje Perine better than you do. But
Yeah.
I mean, Chase Brown is the thing. He's the guy. And they need him
Yeah.
to stay healthy. They don't have a really good answer. So, yes, if he were to get hurt, they would be a lesser football team, unquestionably.
All right. Now, let's talk about they still got Mike Gesicki at tight end. Drew Sample and Eric All. I mean, I don't know. Jack Endries, do you think he's got anything out of Texas? Do you think he can push for a roster spot?
I think he could push for a roster spot. I just don't know where that goes. You can't. Maybe the Bengals can because they do these things and they don't like cutting players early. Eric all he does is get hurt, and this the problem is you knew this was what he was coming out of Iowa. Like he had multiple major injuries. He doesn't play like when he's on the field for the brief moments he's on the field. He's impressive, but like he literally just gets hurt. So injuries can theoretically take his spot. But other than that, there's not much there. I like Gesicki is annoying enough. Drew Sample is basically a sixth lineman.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But yeah, I mean, they're just not a team that does a whole lot with tight end. Not since Noah Fant was there. Gesicki's basically a wide receiver anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the defense. So Jonathan Allen, Boye Mafe, they traded for Dexter Lawrence. They got some Brian Cook out of Kansas City at safety. Cincinnati made some nice moves this offseason.
Yeah. Now the question is, are they going to make one more move? And are they going to find another linebacker or a linebacker? I'm certainly not advocating they give up on Demetrius Knight. I do think that was a bad pick, but they're going to do that. Barrett Carter, I mean, they just have nothing at that second level that you're going, man, that's going to be a good player. So can they get a Bobby Wagner? Can they get somebody else to come in and just step in and be that dude, especially if they want a protection they're going to have in front of them?
I hate the fact that you just put Bobby Wagner out like into the ethos for the Bengals to even think about. I forgot that he's still a free agent, and they're a good enough team that makes sense for him.
Yeah, the Bengals are a weird team where they could add several free agents, and you're like, I really don't want them.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense for them and for that free agent because they are legit a contender. Oh, that would piss me off. I will say this, Pete. I think the Bengals like Barrett Carter more than you. I mean, they used Barrett Carter to force Logan Wilson out of town last year.
Logan Wilson, who was a really good football player many years ago, has become a
fell off. Yeah.
And obviously Dallas traded for him and then basically cut him.
Yeah.
So they may like him more. I think they would like to get a big upgrade there. Bobby Wagner or somebody else that can really take control. Not to say they're giving up on Barrett Carter, but like bring him along in a way and have this guy to learn from and all this other stuff. So yeah, they're really good. Their defensive line isn't just good; it has depth. Annoyingly, now they need Miles Murphy to be better. Boye Mafia is a really good player. Jonathan Allen is a solid player. I expect BJ Hill is going to be the run player, and then Allen's going to come in and be the pass rusher. And then they've still got, we'll see if I'm not saying anything, but right now Shamar Stewart is a backup, which might be the perfect situation for him. And you're sitting there going, well, their last year's first round pick is a backup. Like that could be a great situation for him. Okay, we'll see. And is Landon Robinson going to make this team? Because if he's not, I'm going to sign him in a heartbeat. McKinley Jackson, is he going to be able to do something? Chris Jenkins, these are third and second round picks.
Yep.
They're hoping are going to, become factors on this team. But so they are really, really, really loaded on that element. And then on the secondary is also very strong. Kyle Duggar was signed as a backup behind Jordan Battle. They've got Brian Cook, good player. DJ Turner, an emerging player, really good player. Josh Newton is a solid player. Jalen Davis is out there as a nickel guy. So they've got some options. Questionable depth at corner. I know they drafted Takarius Davis, fine, and they got Dax Hill as a starting corner, fine. I think those guys are all good. The worry, and again, this is another thing that you could theoretically do is trying to sign a free agent DB, is to just add depth. They are really strong if nobody gets hurt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I got to tell you, the Bengals, to me, the Bengals are an annoying situation because I feel like we've just left a 9-year era of knowing we were going to kick their ass every year. Like it's just that's the effect Miles had on that offense, man. I don't know how much of a drop off versus this team specifically we're going to have this year, just because we haven't seen it yet. But Pete, I was supremely confident every single time out against the Bengals. Supremely.
Yes. You know who else was super confident the Browns were going to beat the Bengals? Bengals fans.
Yeah.
Like nobody celebrated that trade. Nobody celebrated that trade more after the Rams than the Bengals.
Yep.
Bengals fans were all about this. This guy has absolutely killed us for this many years in a row. We've had no answer. Now, nothing would make me happier than see the Browns just continue to be a nightmare. Just figure it out anyway, and the Bengals just be absolutely demoralized. But I think it's going to be really, really tough this year because they've gotten a lot better. But can the Browns get enough pressure on Burrow? That's been a whole thing for them. Joe Burrow is not afraid to admit that Myles Garrett was just an absolute demon for him. So can they generate enough pressure with these other guys? We shall see. But the other part of that, like Denzel Ward and the corner situation is still there to match up with their outside receivers. So they can theoretically come on, the Browns beat them with backup corners last year. And Joe Burrow was playing. It's not like they had that. So Denzel Ward and company should be able to match up well enough. It's just a question of can they get enough pressure to make it matter?
Agreed, but not for nothing. I understand we beat them with 2 backup corners last year, but we also had Myles Garrett.
Listen, they were very intimidated by D'Angelo Ross and the other dude who scored a touchdown. So yeah, Garrett was that guy.
Well, let's move on. This one's going to be a fun one. The Atlanta Falcons. Who's going to start at quarterback?
Tua.
Almost has to be Tua, right?
Tua.
Yeah.
Could be Tua. Penix isn't ready from what I seen, and I don't know where.
Right?
Well, he's still working back. I mean, I think he's healthy, but I don't know if he's ready. And I think Tua is at least surrounded by weapons that make sense for what he wants to do. We should see. I could see where this blows up in their face, but their receivers are phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, it's the NFC South. They're all good weather stadiums, right? 2 of them are domes. That's perfect for Tua. It's literally perfect for Tua.
So you get Kyle Pitts, you get Drake London, you've got Jahan Dotson, I guess. I've always loved Olamide Zaccheaus as a sort of underrated guy. They
He's
draft,
tough. He's a well built kid. I like him as a slot.
yes, and they also drafted Zachariah Branch, who's undoubtedly going to be a jet player. He cannot help himself. I love Stefanski. This has always been his thing. Um, and then the question becomes, offensive line wise, the Falcons should be good, but they do have one question at center. I don't know how good Brian Newsill is. Jake Matthews, rock solid. Matthew Bergeron, fine. Chris Lidstrom, stud. And then they lose their tackle to retirement. They signed Juwan Taylor. I think he will be okay. The penalties and all that aside, I think he will be enough. And then you obviously have Bijan Robinson. You obviously have a just dynamic running game. You have a coach that's really good with that style of offense. And the question is, can he sort of recreate, what he had with Baker Mayfield with Tua? And the reality is, I think he can to a point, by just having a guy who's smart, understands where the ball needs to go, and getting it on time. Like, I do think that's a good fit for both Stefanski and Tua. But what happens when Tua gets whacked is the question. Yeah. So the offensive line needs to be great. Obviously, it wasn't Miami. That was a huge problem. So they are solid. They're not spectacular in offense, but they've got a lot of big weapons that can hurt you. So this sets up really well for both Tua and Kevin Stefanski to be good.
What do you think about the defense, Pete?
I'm not as convinced on defense, and I think they have a really good defensive coordinator. They trade Rook Ororo for another disappointing player in Mason Thomas, who's going to play inside. Okay, fine. They've got Brandon Dorless. He's okay. Zach Harrison, eh. And then you've got the dudes they drafted last year, Jalen Walker, who is really good. James Pierce, who is impactful. What?
Is Pierce going to play? Right?
Yeah, we don't know.
Well, and didn't they drop all chart like that's the thing that kind of blows my mind.
It's all the league at this point. It's all about the league, what they're going to do. But yes, he's basically getting off scot-free relative to what he actually was charged with.
Yeah.
So if the league's like, well,
there's not much.
Now I expect he's going to get something, but nevertheless, or maybe he will do something else.
Yeah.
He's the definition of a loose cannon relative to your football team. You have no idea what this guy's going to do on it day in and day out. So that's a real situation. And then you've got behind them Azeez Ojulari. You've got Samson Ebukam, and then there's Cam Thomas. Waving at you, going, "Hey, can I come home yet?" And I'll be like, "Yes, you can. Why'd you leave in the first place, you dope?" We'll see what that happens. They've also got Braylon Trice. And D'Angelo Malone. So they got a lot of guys. So I'll be curious to see I still sit there looking at Cam Thomas and wonder if the Browns can't ship them something.
Yeah.
That's gonna make them happy. It might be
Dylan Gabriel.
I don't think that's gonna be enough, but that would be great.
Well, you don't think Gabriel's enough to get Cam Thomas?
No.
If Penix is a little slow in his recovery,
I would love
it. It's a baby Tua. He's Hawaiian. He's lefty.
Yeah, I could see Cedric Tillman being that player, though.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure.
So,
how about? So let me ask you. I liked Channing Tindall a few years ago when he came out of Georgia and went to Miami, but just absolutely never did anything. So he's backing up Divine Diablo there. What about Harold Perkins? We like him at LSU.
Yeah, it's entirely a question of what they're going to ask him to do. I think he's going to be a package player at best.
Yeah,
and do some other things like that. I think he's going to be. I think he's a good fit for them and what that defense wants to do and the way they can attack, and him being a pass rusher and a weapon and all these other things could be great. How much you can bank on that, I don't know. And then the strength of the Falcons defense to me right now is the secondary. I think the secondary makes the whole thing go.
Xavier Terrell is one of the better corners in football, man. And
Up
how
and
about
down,
Xavier
up and
Watson
down
they drafted a
relative
year
to just
ago?
how dominant he is. But yes, he's a good corner. Mike Hughes is a fine, okay corner. Jesse Bates, tremendous. Xavier Watts, really good rookie season. Billy Bowman, I don't know what his status is because he tore his Achilles last year. I have no idea. They've also
Bowman, is
got
that an Oklahoma State kid?
just Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, okay.
I very curious to see what they do with Avion Terrell. Obviously, wasn't expect to fall as far as he did.
Mm-hmm.
See where that goes. They've still got Clark Phillips. I don't know why he's not listed as a nickel. I can't imagine he's playing outside. Whatever. Sidney Brown is there. They've got an interesting amount of guys in there in the backup realm, but I think their starting group is really good. I think it makes the defense go because they can blitz and do all kinds of crazy stuff at the front, which is exactly what they want to do. Would it surprise me if Atlanta's defense sort of either levels off or takes a step back this year? It would not. But if the offense is better with Tua or more consistent with Tua, Jeff Ulbricht's defense could really be suffocating. If they're like you get up by 10 or 14, like I think that defense could be a real problem in terms of what they can do to create pressure and generate turnovers.
All righty. Well, we're running out of time here, so let's try to wrap real quick. Well, before we go to the Giants, welcome Phil. Better late than never, homie. And you can obviously watch the replay on either Twitter, YouTube, whatever, however you want to catch it. But Pete, let's shoot to the Giants real quick. Jackson Dart had I would say a mixed bag of a rookie season when you factor in injuries and all that stuff. But man, he flashed. He's got a lot of positive buzz right now.
Yeah, can he keep out of the blue tent?
Yep.
And I don't know because every time he's been asked about this, he's sort of like, "Yeah, I'm not going to change what I'm doing." Great. I think the offense around him is awful, awful, awful. And if the line is fine, I think the line will be okay. Andrew Thomas, terrific as long as he's healthy. And then you drafted Francis Mauinoa at right guard. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Jermaine Luminor is fine as a right tackle, probably a little bit underrated, relatively speaking. And then you've got John Michael Schmidt, should be okay at center, and John Runyon at right guard, or left guard, whatever. That's not what worries me. And I think I think Isaiah Likely is going to have a big year. I think he will finally break out of like this weird shell he's had where he's basically it's like 400 yards, but you feel his impact way more than that.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be the main offense.
Yeah, but Theo Johnson's a nice player too. I think they're going to do a lot of two tight end stuff because
they have to.
If Neighbors doesn't come back, their receivers are ugly, Pete.
You don't love Darius Slayton and Calvin Austin III as your receivers, and then maybe Malachi Fields can do something. I did not like as a college prospect at all.
Darnell Mooney is, yeah, and Slayton is shaking his head no alongside you saying that, like, no, I am not the top. I am not the number one.
When you sign Odell Beckham, you are saying we do not have enough guys. We are bad.
Yep.
So yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of Isaiah Likely. I expect it to be a whole lot of Theo Johnson, and unless and Cam Skadabo, and you're hoping Tyrone Tracy can stay healthy because he can be a spark plug.
Yep.
And you Patrick Ricard, which could hopefully help with you. Between the line and Ricard, Skadabo should have him and Tracy should be able to do some stuff. But holy crap, if Malik Neighbors is not on the field, this team is bad.
Yep.
Yeah, you may play with no corners against this team because they're that bad. Like, it's just not good. So I could see this being a really ugly sophomore slumps are no stranger for the NFL. I could see Dart having an ugly year and having to come back. Again, I could see the Giants getting Jeremiah Smith. Like, I could absolutely see them be that bad.
Yeah. Do you think, this is, I guess you can make this argument for any young quarterback, but like there's a legitimate shot that the Giants are drafting in the top 5 again next year. Do you think they would move off of Jackson Dart in that scenario, depending on how it goes? I mean, if he has another year with a concussion or two, and
if he's now beat up again, and he's constantly, especially if it has injuries or whatever, but if he has another injury-riddled year where you're sitting there going, how long is he going to do this? Yes.
you almost have to, right?
We're absolutely having that conversation.
Yeah.
You have to think about it. Keep in mind that the GM, who has somehow managed to keep his job, did not want Jackson Dart. I don't know how attached John Harbaugh is, but obviously that would be another element. But John Harbaugh may sit there and look at this guy and go, I want one of those. But like, I actually think the Giants defense will be okay. Losing Dexter Lawrence is huge for them.
Yeah.
But they had a lot of guys sort of play weirdly on a sort of all on a downturn. Paulson Debo, I think, could bounce back. Javon Holland should bounce back.
Well, Holland blew out his ACL, didn't he?
Who?
Javon Holland, the safety.
Last year?
I thought he tore his knee up late in the year pretty bad.
So if that's the case, that would be a problem. I think Greg Newsome could be okay with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
I think Greg's a good player. I've always thought he's a nice player. I think Campbell's better, and I don't think for the defense the Browns ran. I didn't think Newsome was that great for it, but I like Greg Newsome. He's a good football player.
Well, and a lot of it came down to Greg Newsome wanted money that the Browns weren't willing to pay him and didn't pay it to Tyson Campbell. The Jags are paying him. DJ Reader, not going to be great. Shelby Harris, I expect he will continue to just be what he is, which is good. Darius Alexander, they need a lot more out of him.
Yeah.
But I expect Abdul Carter to be an absolute destroyer of worlds this year because he was phenomenal once they got rid of their dopey DC last year.
Yeah.
Brian Burns should still be good. Arvell Reese could be a big changing force in that group. And they've got Tremaine Edmonds. So they've got a very big, strong, physical linebacker core that can give them a whole lot of looks. And they still got Kayvon Thibodeau.
I was just going to say they still got Thibodeau.
Are they going to trade him? I don't think so, but stranger things have happened. So, again, I could see a world where they're okay, but a lot of it's going to depend on that front. It's clearly worse, but is it going to be enough to sort of really take this thing down? It could. It absolutely could, but I think a lot of those guys are going to be way better this year, and it starts with Abdul Carter. He is so good. So I'll be curious to see where how that lands this year. And even if the biggest thing that I think could get the Giants in trouble is if the offense is just so bad because of all the things we listed, and the Giants defense is basically useless.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have run out of time, so we'll break down the Indianapolis Colts next week. But either way, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. It is always a pleasure. Thank you to the OBR Streaming Network for hosting us. And guys, training camp is around the corner. You will get updates on the hour from the OBR and the OBR.com and the Ask the Insiders forum, all that good stuff, guys. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to sign up. Man, Pete, we got, 10 more days? 8 more days, something like that? Then we got the rookies reporting the 23rd, right?
Yep. Let's just stay out of trouble. And we're
God damn it. Pete, stop bringing that up, dude. If there are any arrests, I'm holding you personally responsible. I just need you to stop talking about this. Okay.
Be like a double homicide, too.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, we're going to knock on wood on that one. Either way, guys, thank you so much, guys. Always a pleasure. We will see you guys next week. Go Browns and take it easy.